Hello everyone, welcome to Sharmit. In this session, we are going to talk about another very important scenario of div, where we will see one more method for centralizing the div content. Okay. So prior to this session, we have already discussed two different methods through which we can centralize the div. So this session is in the continuation of the same, where we will talk about another third method through which we can centralize the div. But before we start the session, I would like to recommend you to please go and check out the previously released sessions first, because they all are in proper sequence and sync. So if you follow them sequentially, then it would be very easy for you to understand the ongoing topic. But for now, we are just focusing on the third method, where we will use absolute and transform in order to centralize the div. Okay, fine. So I think now we are good to start, and here as usual there is one question for all of you, and I request you to please do share your knowledge for this question in the comment section. Today's question is, can we use margin in div to centralize it in HTML web page? So if you know the answer, then you can share your answer in the comment section, but in case if you don't know the answer, then you can simply refer the previous session, and there we have already discussed this thing in detail, and then later you can share your answer. Those who will provide the consistent correct answer will be spotlighted in the upcoming sessions for sure. Okay, so I think now we are good to start with the session. Here you can see the basic thing is already added, like the title in the head section, and then the heading which is showing HTML by Sharmit. So if I show you the output of this program, it is coming like this: HTML by Sharmit. Okay, now what we will do, we will try to create one div. Firstly, I'll create the div, and then later on I'll explain you the entire code what I am writing here. Okay, so for this scenario, like we do need two div, one parent div and one child div. So I'll firstly create those div, and then I'll explain you everything in detail. So to create the div, we will firstly write div element here. So this would be our outer div. In outer div, we will write here style, then position, and here I will use the position as relative. Okay, then we will use height. In height, we will pass it as 300 pixels. Then we will set the background color, and for now let's say background color is light gray. Maybe it is up to you which color you want to select. So this is our outer div. Now in this outer div, we will define another div, and this another div will contain the actual content. So for that, like, we will add the styling here. In the styling, we will write position, but this time position would be absolute. Okay, then we will set the top. In top, we will set it as 50%. Then we will set another thing which is left. In left, we will set it as 50%. I'll explain you all these things, like why we are specifying all these things here. And then later on, we will set the transform. In transform, we will use translate, and here we will set minus 50% and minus 50%. Okay, fine. So we are ready with this thing. Now we can specify the background color here. So background color would be maybe aqua. Okay, and if you want, you can specify the height as well. So let's say height I want to specify as 300 pixels. All right, so we are ready with this div. So let's put some data here so that we can see like how the data is centralized in the div. So for this purpose, I will use here label tag, and in label tab we will write the content which is centralizing. I think there should be one heading also, so let's add that heading. I think we missed this part here. So here we'll write h2, and my heading would be centralizing the div using position, absolute, and transform. Okay, and one more very important thing. So far, like whatever example we have discussed to centralize the div is only impacting the thing horizontally, but this time we are talking about a way through which we can centralize the div both horizontally as well as vertically. So in short, you can say that we are going to centralize the div on both axes. Okay, so I think now heading part is clear. So let's copy the heading data here and put it in the label so that we can see the same text once it is called. So let's save this code and refresh your web browser. So once I refresh the web browser, you can see this div has been centralized. Let me change the height for now, let's say 200 pixels only, and if I refresh it, so you can see it is centralized. If you make it 300 pixels though, then it will be matched with the outer div. That's why I just changed the div height. Okay, so what we did so far, like we just created one outer div, inside that we use inner div, and we have specified few things, which is like we have set the position, absolute, top 50, left 50, and many other things. So let's discuss one by one each thing. So the first thing is position absolute. So the position absolute rule lets the element be positioned anywhere its closest positioned ancestor element. Okay, so if we talk about our example, then the inner green box, aqua box, position the absolute, which means it will be positioned relative to the first parent element that has position other than static, like relative, absolute, or fixed. Okay, so here the outer gray box, which is the parent box, is its containing element. Clear? Now by setting it as absolute, it becomes flexible and can be placed with coordinate top, left, right, bottom, ignoring the regular flow of the other content around it. Now if we talk about 50% left, 50% top, then these two properties position the inner box halfway across the halfway down the outer box. So if we talk about top 50, then it means the top edge of the inner box is placed 50% down from the top edge of the outer box. Similarly, the left 50% places the left edge of the inner box 50% across from the left edge of the outer box. So these are just definition. Okay, don't worry, I'll explain you in a very simple term also. I'm just reading out all these definitions for you. Then if we talk about the transform, which is translate -50 and -50, the translate or transform is what completes the centering. Okay, -50 moves the box up and to the left 50% of its own width and height. The negative values -50 and -50 pull the box back, centering it exactly. Now these are the thing. Now if I explain you in a very simpler term, so for position absolute, you can say that it makes the box flexible within its parent. That's it. If someone asks you what is the function of position absolute, so it makes the box flexible within its parent. If someone asks you what is the functionality of top 50 and left 50, so you can see it places the box top left corner in the center. It places the box top left corner in the center. If someone asks you what is transform and translate, then you can say it shifts the box half its own size, aligning its center point with the present parent center. Clear? So this is how these things are utilized in a combination in order to create the centralized div. Now, as I mentioned earlier also, that in previous session we have discussed other ways also to centralize the div, right? So there are many ways, like in fact, like in the upcoming session also, we are going to talk about different ways through which we can centralize the div, and they all are important. Why? Because in project we don't know what kind of situation we are going to face in the upcoming projects, right? So it's better to know all those methods, especially for centralizing the div, so that whenever there is a need, we can simply utilize the method as per our requirement. Okay, and remember one thing, whenever you are using this method where we are using absolute and transform, so make sure that you are using the things in the same way, like style, position relative in the outer div, then position absolute in the inner div, then top, left, as well as the transform and translate, because they all are working in a same group. in order to make this div centralized. Clear? So yeah, now I request you to please do share the answer of this question. Today's question is, when can we use margin in div to centralize it in HTML web page? So please do share knowledge, and those who will provide the consistent correct answer will be spotlighted in the upcoming session. So yeah, that's all for today. In the next session we will discuss few more things. So thank you for watching Tech Sharmit.